Hello everyone. I wanted to do a tutorial on isometric drawing and creating a simple isometric grid. So first to start, we're going to get just a rough idea. We're going to do a cross, just an X here, and this will be kind of our idea where we want our grid to be. If we want that grid to be extra perfect, we're actually going to use Photoshop's snapping tool. We're going to hold, well, not snapping tool, but rotation tool. We're holding shift while we rotate. And I believe if we go to about 60 degrees, that'll be pretty close. So on 60 degrees, we're holding shift again and just dragging across there. We're gonna go back to 60 degrees this way as well. That's pretty close to what we originally drew, so that's fine with me. I'm gonna delete that original drawing. And now we have a perfect little grid here. Well, a perfect X on those degrees. And we can easily say we wanna create a book. And I can take this, duplicate it, and Control E to merge down. And we're gonna basically create like the base face of where the book would be. So this is right here is the bottom part of the book, or top part of it, the largest surface of it. And let's take that, hold shift and alt, and we're gonna control drag that down. Okay, so now we have those. We're gonna hold shift, select both of them, hit Control G and put them into a group, and just lower the opacity of my isometric grid. So now that I have that grid laid out, I can start drawing my book. And you could do this without this, but the grid just helps keep things nice and clean. So let's just follow along our lines here. And see, I'm just going straight, pretty much straight up and down. I'm adding a little curve just to add some stylization to the book. I'm doing that on purpose, but this will be a nice, perfect isometric perspective, or isometric lack of perspective, I guess you could say. Let's follow along here. And our pages are going to stick out about here, and this line is going to go along, follow that line as well. Just go around across here. You have some pages stick out a little bit. And let's see, we got this line here. So that's pretty much the base book. And we could throw some colors on here too. Maybe I'll just do a little bit more detailing just to kind of get an idea of what this looks like. Maybe this should actually bend this way instead. Let's erase these lines and bend this out a little bit. You know, books have that, like, kind of tend to have a little crease right here. Just a little bit here from bending open. You could bevel the corners slightly if you wanted. And maybe the book cover, got a front cover piece here. Maybe it's the whole front piece. You could start breaking in some segments for some detailing and things like that. Little square details. Okay, so now we have that. Let's turn off our grid right there. And now it looks like we missed a line, so let me turn my grid back on. I forgot to connect this dot here. So maybe if you have that run into that issue, you could turn the opacity down a little bit further on your guide layers. Let's see, that paper comes into about there. Let's turn that layer off again, and let's make a new layer here. And while we're at it, we might as well just color this. So let's do a base color. Let's say it's like a blue. Kind of pick this nice soft blue. And I'm going to do a selection on my lines, but right on the outside here. But since I didn't quite close all my lines together, that didn't work out perfectly. But I can see, I think right here probably will close my lines. Let's do another. Oh, did it again. Just gotta find the little opening there. There we go. So now I did the select, and that did pretty good, but you see it's like right on the edge there. I want that selection to be in the middle of the lines. So let's go up to select, modify, and I believe expand will be the right one, to expand it by 1 pixel. That did pretty good. Let's do modify, expand, and do 2 more pixels. Now it's a little bit in further. But this is the selection on the outside of the book. I want the opposite of that. So if you hit Control Shift I, that's going to invert the selection. Let's go back and then go to Shift G. Well, actually G will bring up the paint bucket. If you Shift G, you can cycle through the different aspects of the paint bucket tool. So now we have that. Let's take another color, another layer, hold Alt, and go between the layers and tag that above it like that. You just hold Alt while it's between here. See how it has that icon there? And once you do that, anything you paint within this layer will stay within the blue. So I'm going to find a nice color for my pages here. Just a base color. And paint in really quick. And now that we have the base color, let's do one more color for the, let's do a silver for the kind of the detailings of the book. Find a silver. And this will just go along these edges here. Well, in this case it's a gray, but, and go along these edges here. Okay. Maybe this will follow along the whole line here. There we go. If you want to add a little bit more, give some dimension to this book, we'll put a layer on the very top of it. And this one, we're gonna set it to overlay and pick kind of a, we could go with a warm or a cooler color. Let's try a warm color, go a little darker, a little less saturation. There we go, that's a nice shadow color. So let's say the shadow's coming from the top right or something. So here we got the back of the book's cast in the shadow a bit here. And maybe we have some shadow coming across straight here as well. And just erase a little bit there, but maybe this piece of paper right there is casting a shadow as well. And okay. And since we chose overlay instead of multiply, we can actually, we're gonna grab another color, and this one can be a bright color, like a brighter color. See, I went more in the white spectrum. Since it's an overlay, I can do highlights and shadows instead of using a multiply layer, which would give me just shadows. I'm going to select this top layer here. I'm using the polygonal selection tool, which I hit L and use Shift to cycle through there. I'm going to hit G to go back to my paint bucket, but I want to use the gradient, so I hold Shift and G and tab through those. And we're going to select the radial gradient. I'm just going to give a little bit of light from the side here. There we go. And I'm actually going to switch back to my other color, go a little darker, because I was hitting X to swap between those two colors, so I still have my shadow color. I just want to add a little bit of a gradient, kind of darkening up from the bottom there. And from this point, you could start painting over your book. You could do whatever you wanted. You could add a logo or icon or something on the front. Say I wanted to add my classic shape here, my logo. Let's just draw that out really quick, or something close to it. And I'm just going to select that. I'm going to hit, once it's, well actually I don't need to select, it's on some layer, so I'm going to hit Control T. And since it's an isometric, this should be pretty easy, and I'm just holding Control and grabbing these points. I'm going to place it in the right view. Let's place on the center of the book there. There we go. With a decent bit of rendering and everything, you'd be able to create a nice prop or concept for a book using isometric drawing. You've got the grid, and from here, all you have to do is just, I would recommend taking a new layer and just start painting over the top of these lines, because leaving the lines in will add some nice variety to your painting. I think and painting over everything will give you some nice texture and whatnot, and you can just start pulling details out, like if you wanted this page to be stuck out a little bit more. And from here, it's just a matter of working on it for a little bit, getting those textures and details pulled in. But yeah, thanks for checking out my tutorial. Let me know if you'd like to see anything else in isometric view or any other tutorials along those lines. I really appreciate you stopping by. If you liked the video, subscribe and turn notifications on. Please leave a comment below. Thanks for stopping by, and have a great day, evening, or whatever's going on.